Good morning, council members. Brian Kellenberger, Walton County Administrator, and soon to be former Beach Operations Director. So thank you for your time this morning. May the Lord be with you. Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity as council members and staff members and the public to take on the business of tourism this morning. Please bestow upon us the virtues of gratuity and humility as we consider these items. Let us understand through the collective eyes and ears of the tourism partners, the people that live here and the people that visit here as we consider these items, and help us as we finish to have peace and understanding with our decisions. And as always, help us to treat everybody with patience and fairness and kindness. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, is there anyone here that would like to offer public comments? Anyone here to speak? No public comments? All right, let's go to item number 1. We need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Show all in favor of the motion, say aye. Show that done, 5-0. All right, let's adopt the financial report.
Good morning. Summer Alford with the Office of Management and Budget. For the month of September, total TDT expenditures amounted to $11,297,857. On the budget report, you'll see year-to-date actual expenditures totaled $46,991,176. For the month of September, total TDT collections amounted to $3,645,962. Total revenue for the month, including interest and collections, is $4,155,042. TDT collections for the South Walton District for the current year equal $49,989,837. This represents a decrease of 0.1% when compared to the prior year. TDT collections for North Walton District for this year equal $338,733. When compared at a 2% rate, this represents a 10.3% decrease when compared to the prior year. Reserves for the period amount to $166,535,866. This leaves an unassigned fund balance after deductions for projects, encumbrances, and beach renourishment of $45,647,593. Now respectfully request the approval of the financial report.
Thank you, Ms. Alford. Is there a motion to accept the financial report?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Show that done unanimously. All right, I want to skip over 3 through 7, and I want to go into the director updates. Let's start with Ms. Kelly Carter with marketing.
So, good morning, Kelly Carter, Director of Marketing. A couple things that I have going on and been going on for quite a while is we are, as requested, still continuing to focus on those bread and butter markets that we talked about, and realizing that, with the Great Migration, that a lot of people have moved into those markets and they might not realize that, their closest beach is us. So we are continuing to look at those, especially into that Texas market, because there's been such a great migration from California to there, and they're used to a California beach, and so they just need to be reminded, or it needs to be known that we're here for them. So we're continuing to do that. We are exploring options with Visit Florida for Authentic Walton. Visit Florida currently has a campaign they are doing that is vacation in your backyard. And so one of the things that we're doing for Authentic Walton is working with Visit Florida on that. And we're also working with Northwest Florida Beaches for that with their adventures, with adventure travel. So over the last couple of months, we've created some videos and some things that you all will see come out. Additionally, the events campaign, as we'll talk about later, is running to all of the events that are part of that. We currently have that campaign running. We attended ELF, the Emeril Lagasse Foundation Carnival d'Aven in New Orleans with Justin Gaffrey. The team attended DEMA with Northwest Florida Beaches. That is the Emeril Lagasse Foundation Carnival d'Aven is a large event that takes place in New Orleans with very affluent people who are from all over the U.S. and some outside of the U.S., but also have the income to come to South Walton. DEMA is a dive show. While we don't have a lot of ways to get diving, it does give us an opportunity to promote the Underwater Museum, and it gives us an opportunity to promote the reefs. Lastly, you will, I believe I sent it out to you guys, but if I didn't, we played the long game with Modern Luxury, and we did a really great holiday roundup that started with a desk side in Chicago 2 years ago and trying to find the exact place that we wanted to put that. And so a lot of Walton County was included in that Modern Luxury. As a reminder, supplemental programming is always on. So just remember, if you're seeing a dip or you're seeing anything, very nominal fee, we will help you put together that programming and campaign for you. Activations have concluded for this year. We're looking at next year to see what we would like to do. I say this every single time, but if you would like to participate in the non-returning visitor study, please get a hold of me. I will make sure you get that information. I know, I'll keep saying it. For Tourism Talks, as you know, that's if you have 10 minutes and you want to learn something about tourism, it's there and available. Communications with Nicole is up, and next we're going to have the annual meeting up, that if anyone that missed the annual meeting, they can actually watch that themselves. And then the tram service is going to be after that. We think that's very important to have that ready with all the new stops and everything that's going on. I'm sure Brian will talk about that a little bit more, but we wanted to get that out to the visitors to make sure they understand it, so give a little time. And also it's meant for your frontline staff as well, so that they can explain how it works as well. Perfect Guide is up next. And lastly, we are in the process of updating the Visit South Walton website. It hasn't been updated in 8 years as far as the back end or anything. And for those of you that are in this business, 3 years is pretty much the lifespan of a website. So we've done some things on the back end to keep it running, but there's so many new things that we need to work on. So we're in the process of that. And as you can see, that is Justin Gaffrey. He was painting, and he was painting at Carnival d'Aven in New Orleans, and he actually sold 3 paintings while we were there. And then we were the sponsor of the whole weekend, but champagne and caviar was one of the things we were a huge sponsor of. So everyone that walked in, I got to greet every single person that walked in. We talked to them. We gave them a gift. We were able to talk about where you like to go in South Walton. So it was a really good event for us. And then lastly, that's where we traveled with Northwest Florida Beaches. That's Cece up there. She is, her and Blakely attended that show. And as you can see, we have all 9 destinations up there, and we are actually a county on there. So she's pointing to, that's the back of the booth, and then that's the front of the booth. Communications. You have any questions?
Any questions or comments from Ms. Carter? To recognize.
Kelly, real quickly, you mentioned the non-returning visitor study.
Yes.
How many responses have we gotten on that? What kind of data are we actually getting back?
We've got very few responses. So, like, Joe?
Yeah.
Why he's here to beg.
Joe Walters, Down in Saint Germain, the research company for we have about 120 responses to the survey, but we only have 31 that we can use. And this is as of, I think, Monday when I looked. 30 that we can use. So we've got a couple big lists from Newman Daily and St. Joe Company. And we've sent survey to a lot of people on those lists. And what those lists are people that have not returned to those properties. But what we found is that they have returned to South Walton. So that's why we have so many disqualifications. So right now we only have about 30 surveys that we can use, and we're hoping for 10 times that.
So us not, I guess, the bigger picture is they're still coming. They're just choosing to, in a different, maybe they stayed at Sandestin last time and now they're coming to your place, or maybe they stay with you and now they're going to homeowners collection or something like that. So anyone that would like to participate, we're still open to doing that. If you send it out on your own, like I know you did, we can send you some updated information if you want to resend it to anyone. I'll be happy to do that. And we could probably do that just because it'd get lost in the holidays. We could do that after the first of the year to try to do that if you guys are interested in that. Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
One? Seeing none? Thank you. All right, next up, we'll have a report from Communications, Ms. Nicole Everett.
Good morning, council members. Nicole Everett, Communications Director. Glad to share with you our media highlights from the October period, where we generated 18 print and digital articles that focus both on South Walton and also on Authentic Walton. And you can see a highlight of what those articles are to your right in your packet. That generated over 1.4 billion impressions with an earned media value of just over $10 million. So since then, our focus has been on, again, media visits, preferencing, which is basically generating appointments, media appointments for International Media Marketplace, where we get a lot of content creators and journalists, travel writers seeking to pitch them to come to this area. We had to reschedule a media visit that was supposed to be the first week in December. And then we've also worked with Visit Florida on a content creator couple that came through here. And actually, I think we've got their information, or their article also posted. So we've also, from the communications side, have been working on not only the strategic plan for the tourism department, but also the PR strategic plan with Turner, our agency, and making sure that we're in alignment of the things that we want to achieve. And then, and as part of that, participated in an all-agency strategic planning session just earlier this week. And then working on our different publications, our communications newsletter to our partners and shareholders, the Connection newsletter, other website and content creation updates, and then media coverage for events such as the ribbon cutting yesterday for 393. So to generate local media coverage. And oh gosh, yeah, you got it. Thanks. And that this is just, again, another visual highlight of some of the articles that we've been able to generate. And certainly I encourage you to go to WaltonCountyFLTourism.com and take a look and read these articles if you have not done so yourself. They're quite interesting. So are there any questions I can answer?
Any questions for Ms. Everett? Seeing none, thank you.
All right, thanks. And who are we?
Next up, we'll have a report for beach operations, Ryan Adams.
Morning, Council. Ryan Adams, Beach Operations. Pleased to share the beach operations update with you this morning. Starting with 393, we had our grand opening yesterday, ribbon cutting ceremony. We had a great turnout, got some media coverage. It's a little chilly out there, but we appreciate everyone that come out and supported that event for us. And pleased to announce that facility is open to the public for parking, and come spring break, beach tram shuttle operations will commence out of that facility. So we're looking forward to that. Moving on to, here's some pictures of the completed 393 municipal parking facility. Moving on to Seagrove Regional Beach Access. This project should be complete around mid-January. Making good progress on it. Got some pictures here. As you can see, the parking pavers are complete, all the concrete sidewalks are complete, the building's ready to go, boardwalk's complete, and later this month, we're gonna start our asphalt paving operations, and then we should be wrapping it up pretty shortly after that. We'll just do some striping and some other items. So looking forward to having a ribbon cutting ceremony for that in the near future as well. Driftwood Parking Facility, this project started back in June. We're currently working on the drainage exfiltration system on that project, and it's scheduled to be complete in the summer of 2026. Here's a picture of the concept drawing on the left, and on the right, you can see that the work is ongoing with the drainage system there. All right, Creighton Beach Community Center, that project's about 25% complete. Currently working on Hot Street roadway and pedestrian improvements. So that road's closed in front of Durango's right now while that work's going on. And we're also pouring concrete walkways that are going to lead down to the beach boardwalks. So that's kind of where we're at with that project right now. Still on schedule, and we're anticipating a completion date of summer 2026 for that project as well. Here's some pictures of some of the work that's ongoing at Creighton, and a conceptual picture of what the completed project's going to look like. So we're excited about that project. Legion Park improvements, we're still in the permitting stage for that. Design's complete. We did receive our Army Corps permits for the boat landing piers. So we're making progress in the permitting department, still going back and forth with DEP with getting the DEP permit for that project. But as soon as that's done, we'll be ready to get our development order and go out to bid for construction for that project. Here's a picture of the Kellogg Nature Park Community Center. We just issued the notice to proceed to the contractor for that project, and we anticipate that we're going to start construction later this month or early January. Here's a picture. Sorry, the slides are a little out of order this month. Here's a picture of the Legion's Park Improvement conceptual drawing. So on capital improvement projects, Walton Dunes, we've received our permits, designs complete. We have a development order, and we're anticipating construction to start in fall of 2026 for that project. Oyster Lake Beach Access and Bramble Grove, we're still in a holding pattern on those two projects. You know, they were purchased in 2023. The lots were cleared in 2024. And I think when our new director gets in next week, we're going to sit down and start looking at our priorities for the upcoming year. And these will definitely be in the conversation for that. Here's some pictures of Bramble Grove and Oyster Lake. Other projects, I think we're moving in the direction of doing some design work on Eastern Lake. That's a priority for 2026. However, that is being put on hold until we have a community meeting with some local stakeholders to get some feedback on that project. So I think it's great to reach out to the stakeholders, communicate early and often, and we're looking forward to getting their feedback before we kick off design. Other than that, no updates on the other projects. Beach tram operations, we're at 18,000 in the month of November. That's about a 5% increase over October of 2024. And trash operations were down just slightly at 8,000 for the month of October in 2025. So that concludes the beach operations update. Any questions?
Questions, comments? Seeing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, let's hear from tourism. Matt Algren.
Awesome. Appreciate everybody. I'll keep it real brief. Just wanted to, thank you all for all the time, energy, and commitment in 2025. I feel like we made a lot of progress and put a lot of time and energy into kind of revamping and revitalizing a lot of the things that we do. So just wanted to thank you all for that. I know you guys have given a lot of your time to us, so we appreciate that and look forward to what we're going to continue in 2026. Also, just wanted to remind you all that we do have the joint BCC TDC workshop Tuesday. That'll be at 9:30 a.m. in the South Walton Annex. I've sent you all the agenda there. So just want to put that reminder out there, and we look forward to seeing you guys.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, thank you. All right, that concludes our director updates. Let's go back to new business. Item number 3, Ms. Kelly Carter.
Hi. Grants again. I mean, we have to laugh about it because if not, we'll cry. So, based on the discussions that we had and everything that you all requested that this team put together, we went back and the team put all that together. We tried to organize it very intuitively, and you'll notice that, it's split up by signature event, experience event. We also went through and, gave what the guidelines for funding and pretty much everything that we're doing. I also made those changes that Ms. Edwards requested on the scoring application and how that is done. And then in the packet, one of the things that I felt was important to include, and so everyone understood, is what a sample reimbursement looks like and how much work goes into the back end. After this part, how much work goes in the back end, making sure that everything is correct and paid properly. Couple of questions that I had for you all, just in general, how we want to move forward with this plan is, one of the first ones is, if we set a budget here and say it's $500,000 that we want to support this plan next year, that would help me moving forward, because then it's not just whatever. We just put that in the budget and then we figure out around it, rather than in the past, the way we've done it is, just however much, we kind of waited until the applications. And I'm happy to do either way, but I felt like this year you guys really wanted to set a cap at where we wanted to spend that at. Also, I was requested, to talk about, would we like to set the cap for the signature event funding? Right now, I have it as a signature event receives $15,000 or more in grant funding, and that their overall budget exceeds the $15,000 allocated. So would we like to? Previously, that was set at no more than $20,000, but from this board, I heard that maybe that should be more from some people. But then from this board, I also heard that maybe that should be less. And then also, one of my questions was, would we want to set a funding cap on the amount one entity can request? For example, the Seascape concerts, they will put in for $20,000 for every one of them, and there's like 10 of them. Obviously, if we were to award all 10 of them $20,000, that's $200,000 of whatever budget we want to do. So is there some kind of funding cap you want to put on an entity? So those were my questions that I had based on what I put together. So now I'm waiting for direction from you all.
What do you guys think? I'm gonna let Jennifer go first. Ms. Steele, you're recognized.
Thank you. No, I had a question about you said the minimum is 15. Is there and you wanting to know if we recommend a cap?
So as a signature event, it typically was $20,000 is what you got. So we kind of had it. Previously, we had it like if you were a community event, you got up to $5,000. Basically, you got $5,000. If you were an experience event, you got $10,000. And if you were a signature event, you got $20,000. This year, we moved that around a little bit simply because the budget was lower and we had to figure that out. So I think if you're a signature event and you can demonstrate that amount of, if you're 38 Songwriters Festival or South Walton Beaches Wine and Food Festival, and you can demonstrate that you bring that many people in, that anywhere from 15,000 and up would be appropriate to give them, especially if we're giving 10,000 to, maybe a smaller event. That's just my thought. But then I had other people ask me, did we want to set in these guidelines, would we want to set a cap on that? Does it need not to exceed 25,000? Does it not need to exceed $20,000? So.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how expensive, you all know how expensive advertising is. And so events that really need to, whether they're already succeeding or they're trying to build and grow, like the Songwriters Festival, having additional funds would be helpful so that we can see that return.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to say an amount on the cap, but I think it would be wise to allow more of a range.
And that's why I just said 15,000 and up, and then, you know, with the other one, it's, you know, up to $10,000. So just trying to look at it like trying to make the money work appropriately in the best way. I mean, there are some smaller events that maybe bring in more people than another smaller event. Maybe that smaller event gets $7,500 and the bigger, smaller event gets $10,000. So I was just trying to like, basically it will look at, you know, in the application, what it says, you know, room nights are. So that kind of would determine a little bit of that is what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I know a lot of the larger events got cuts this year
Yes.
that will make an impact on how they're able to advertise. My other question was, how is significant amount of ticket sales qualified?
I don't know. I just didn't have a number. And significant was my thesaurus number. You know, I mean, I think it's relative to, you know, what your room nights are. I mean, if you have, obviously, if you sell a bunch of tickets, but you don't have a bunch of room nights, that's maybe not significant enough. It is still a little subjective, but I'm hopeful that the people that sit on this panel and score these will be knowledgeable about that sort of thing and understand what we're looking at, which I think in turn would require before this, as we talked about before this goes out to everyone or while it's out to everyone, we have that workshop with all of the event producers and we talk about how you need to fill this application out and what we actually are looking for.
And I think I love the reimbursement packet example, and I think that would be helpful to give to the applicants as
Yes.
well.
And we've always had it where you could request it. We've just never put it out up front. So, and never put it together like this. So having Cece, she's pretty organized. So having her put it together like this, you know, just kind of up the bar a little bit, and just wanted to make sure that, you know, everyone understands that. I think one of the things that maybe was I didn't explain very well was the amount of work on the back end that, you know, the person that receives the event money has to do, and the staff person has to do to make sure all of that criteria was met. So that's why we felt it was important to put the reimbursement packet in there, so you had it, so people outside of this room and outside of people who do it every day could see the amount of work that an event producer puts into this.
Well, I know everybody realizes that I would like to see the budget restored for this program. But I think it also ties into the next agenda item for the event sponsorship program. So I don't know if that's going to be like a one number that's allocated to, you know, split up between each program, or if we decide a certain number.
I think
for
that's up to
events.
this body to decide what they would like to do. I tried to, not to get ahead of myself, but, you know, based on what you guys asked for the community event sponsorship, it should be very small and it should have so much money. So that's why I tried to like give ideas of how many events that would be able to fund, depending on where this body wanted to go with that.
That's it for me for now.
Are we? Oh, yeah, sure. You're recognized.
Okay, so Kelly, you're gonna have to refresh me just a little bit. We just set the upcoming year's budget. Oh, sorry. So we just set the upcoming year's budget. We set that at
$500,000. And that's what, so this is always pushed to the next year. So this is for this application goes live typically in January, and this is for events that are from October 1st, 2026 to September 30th, 2027. So when you talk about setting the budget, you're actually giving me a budget number for next budget year, and we would just work it around that. Like wherever we set the budget for next year, that number would be in there, similar to how we do the media plan. We know we're going to spend that money. I bring that to you before all, so that when we're putting together the budget, I can give these people, they know how much money they're going to have. Because if you are an October event, we want to let you know as soon as possible, or it doesn't, the advanced spending doesn't happen. So it's always for next year.
So when Jennifer's referencing a cut, what was the prior year before we said 500,000. Was it 700?
It was 700 and 750,000. One year it was 750, and the next year it was 700.
Well, I guess I'd give you my thoughts. I definitely think that you need an up to amount. I am comfortable with the 20 versus the 15, but I understand that leaves less resources to allocate in other areas. And I think if we've done 20 in the past and it wasn't broken, maybe we shouldn't try to fix it, even though I fully acknowledge I was one of the people that was thinking we might need some fixing. As far as an entity cap, I'd still go back to merit based on the event. And so if you've got a successful event operator producing multiple events that produce for this county, I don't think we should look at an entity as a whole. I think we should look at each individual event and say either it merits it or it does not. That's my opinion.
And I'm perfect. That's the way we've always done it in the past. The one thing that we have done is, for example, if you have, we've kind of looked at long-running program. For example, Seaside, like they have a program that kind of runs all year long with something for the kids to do and fireworks and these things. And we consider that a signature event, but they spend the money all year long. That would be one of the ones that gets a little outside of bounds. But in the guidelines, it talks about if you have something that's like a season, and like Emerald Coast Theater Company, they get more money than just they don't apply for each show, they apply for that season. So those were some of the questions that we received last year, like why does this get this much money? Well, they're putting on say Emerald Coast Theater Company in the fall, they're putting on 4 shows. So essentially they're getting $5,000 a piece. So it essentially is, a smaller event, but when you add it up, it's $20,000. So it just made more sense for us to give them $20,000 at one time to promote that whole season. And that's how we do like Coastal Couture at Grand Boulevard when they applied for it. They got that's money for them to use the whole year round. So
now, if we think that one of these organizations there's only justification that maybe $2,500 should be used, can we do that? Or do we have to be at 15,000?
You can do it however you want. I would think though, if we only wanted to give them $25,000, if we were $2,500, I'm sorry. If we only wanted to give them $2,500, I would think for the amount of work that goes into $2,500 in this program, we would steer them towards the community if we decide to move forward with the community service program. Because while it does have some work that goes with it, and it does have some legwork, it doesn't have quite as much as this one does. And for such a small amount of money, you're not getting a whole lot at $2,500 for advertising.
Explain that process to me.
So the reimbursement process?
Well, you're saying there's a whole lot of work that goes into.
Okay, so it's the reimbursement process. So to start with, your application has to include your media plan and all the things you're going to do, which is perfectly fine. So the reimbursement process is after the fact. So you would spend the $2,500 and then you would get it after the fact. You need to prove where you placed each ad. You need to prove the audience of each ad. You also need to show where you actually paid for that ad.
Is the workload on us or on them?
It's on both of us. On them to prove it, and then us, it has to go through our building, and then it goes to the clerk's office, and they check each and every one, just like we do, like say the Zender bill every month. Because the way this is written is we pay after the fact, and we have to ensure that they've paid for it. The other program would give them the ability to give them $2,500, and they didn't have to put out the $2,500 beforehand. So that's kind of the difference in there. Because if it's $2,500, typically it's going to be a very small event, and they might not have the money to put it out beforehand.
You recognize?
I think that there needs to be incentive for organizations to apply for the marketing grant program, because that's going to give the tourism department better exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think making the minimum even for the experience events greater than I think that like instead of saying you're only gonna get 2,500 or 5,000, I think the minimum should be, greater than the event.
And that's why I didn't know where you guys would want to go on the community event sponsorship. That's why I left it a little open on the other one so that we could make determinations. If we decided to go with the community event sponsorship, then yes, we could say that a signature event receives $20,000 and an experience event receives $10,000. And you know, if you're applying as an experience event, that's what you're going to receive, which is going to be, you know, either twice the amount of the community or 4 times the amount of the community. But I didn't want to make decisions based on what you all wanted. I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to let me know.
Any questions, suggestions?
I'm just, have we given you the direction that you need?
So my question would be, is it, before we move forward and ask for an approval, if we change the signature event amount to $20,000, would that be, that you receive $20,000, would that be acceptable?
From 15?
You can receive 15 or more, so I just cap it at 20, and you just automatically receive $20,000. And for an experience, we could cap it at 10. You automatically receive 10. And then I think this application, if you give me that direction, if you want to move forward with it, I would make that, and then we could take it to the BCC for final approval.
I'm okay with that.
And I would send it to you all so you could see it beforehand before we take it to the BCC, obviously.
Okay.
Could we hold on, excuse me, deciding the budget amount until?
Oh,
later
yes, we could
date,
do
or
that
you-
later. Definitely could do that later because, I mean, we won't need that until closer to the budget time. And in the past, we've never put a budget amount in there. It's kind of been like, I just bring to you all what, these are the events applied. These are the ones that actually met the qualifications, and based on the guidelines, this is how much money they should receive. And you all either took that or told me to cut it and figure it out. So we can definitely make that change later if you would like.
But we do have the ability to scrutinize these events year after year after year to see if really we're getting any value if we invest $10,000 into
Yes,
an
sir.
organization.
Yes, sir. One of the things that
I
is
just don't
new.
want to keep giving 10 here over and over and over if we recognize there's nothing.
Yes, sir.
The
And one of the
value there.
things that I added in here this year, and Ms. Still is familiar with it, is basically we have an after-event action report, and you have to complete it in order to be eligible to even put in for next year. And that should, with that after-action report, it should include like the stuff that Homeowners Collection or Royal Destinations would give, and show the actual amount of rooms, and it should show all the things. And then it also would tell you, one of the things in there is like 3 things that was really good and 3 things that you would change. And so we would be able to compare those year after year. So it's something that I've always wanted, but I haven't always got people to do it because there was no reason, no incentive for them to do it. But I put in there this year that if you do not complete that, you're not eligible to apply next year, because that's not giving us the information we need in order to establish that ROI, Mr. Drake.
And then that's a report that you can provide to us when we do this.
Yes,
process
and so next year, when you've done the process and you've sent it to us this year, I would just give it back to you next year. Just like if, if you've applied year after year, I always will give you your application back if you want to see what you put on it last year, because you fill it out online and you don't actually get a copy of it. So that's one of the things that, my team does for anyone that wants to do it. And we would keep that with the system, and it would go there, and that would help establish that ROI.
Okay.
All right, then
What do we want to do?
I would think so. Matt?
I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the event grant proposal with an up to $20,000 limit on our signature events and an up to $10,000 limit on our experience events.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. Kelly had mentioned occupancy, and I know a lot of the grants have to be tied. Is it helping the bed tax collectors? But I always have said the decisions made in our county by our county commissioners and by this board is we should always think, are our decisions good for the people that live here? And if they are, then they'll be good for the people that visit here. So I think many events may not bring a single room night to my company, but I still would like tourism to be welcomed in Walton County by the residents of Walton County, to know that many of these events, cultural events of the arts, are good for those that live here and may not necessarily rent rooms. So I always like to hope that the revenue that we generate also does not necessarily have an ROI in terms of revenue for a bed tax collector, but it's good for the residents and their families and people that come in, daytime visitors from other counties that may come. So, Emerald Coast Theater is a perfect example. Thank you.
Commissioner Drake, may I address that?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Taylor, you're absolutely right, and that's why we have the community and cultural value of the event. And so, part of it is not just how many room nights and stuff, but it is does it align with Walton County's culture, the community pride, and the visitor experience? So that is exactly where something like an Emerald Coast Theater Company would come in, because it is culture for the community. Thank you.
Are you okay with what we're doing? You think it meets your expectations? Okay. Good. Anyone else? Discussion, debate, public comment?
Good job. Jim Bagby. Okay, good. Sorry. No light on this one. I agree with everything y'all said. I might just, part of the design of the program, you got 26 miles of beach, you got 16 beach neighborhoods, and part of the thought process that went in is, kind of spread it out a little bit. Some things are 26 miles wide. Some things are just in those communities, Seaside, Rosemary Beach, Sandestin has a few. I might rethink the cumulative cap issue, only because you can have a Topeka that comes into Seascape and can qualify individually, either in the marketing grant or the event sponsorship, for 25, 25, 25. Really, you can do 25 big signature events. You probably won't do that, but you'll have 10. That's 250,000. And for this year, that's half of your budget, because the process you're talking about is the process that's going to be used this coming when you go through the process and you have a different dollar amount, but it also will be used for the packets for this year. And so just look at how you distribute that, because there are some $25,000 events, and there'll be some $15,000 signature events, and there'll be 10,000. But if they're all in the Sandestin Seascape area, or a preponderance of them are, then that kind of, the 30A might get shortchanged. So I would say you don't want them all going to the Rosemary Beach Foundation, but you also don't want them all going to Topeka. So, and you can make that number whatever number you want, but just look at making sure that there's somewhere in this process that helps distribute the love that you give the entire 26 miles of beach.
Thank you. Do you have anything?
I'm happy to do whatever you all would like, but if we come back to the application, it does talk about, where is your event and the community and the cultural value of it. So I think some of that would help with that. Obviously, maybe if we look at each one of those and we base each event on its merit, as Ms. Weiss-Coble said, that we would be able to do that, especially because, we're looking at this body to help us do that.
Are there any events out there that would justify spending up to like $50,000?
That used to be the cap, $50,000. And I would say that there were events that did deserve that. And $50,000 is easy to spend quickly.
And advertising, yes, ma'am.
Effective marketing.
So we have a motion, and a second, any other discussion?
Should we consider raising the cap to 25 for the
It's
signature
Miss,
events?
it's Miss Wisecobal's motion, so that would either, I'm not always sure how that works. If you would want to do that, or if not.
I think I can amend the motion. Feel like, I mean, I think if we're at an up to, guys, then we're still, you got to go back to the process, in my humble opinion, of we got to merit each individual. I'm fine with up to 25 because it could be 20. It could be 15. Just based on the merit of the event is what I understand that we're saying. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'll amend the motion to signature events up to 25,000, with the experience events remaining at 10.
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
So why don't you withdraw your original motion? So let's show that done, and offer your second motion.
I make a motion that we fund signature events up to 25,000 and experience events up to 10,000.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Show that adopted unanimously.
Thank you. Not quite done. As requested in the last meeting that we had, Ms. Steele asked me about a community event sponsorship program. And like I said, you guys had asked me about that in the past. That's not something we've had before. It's kind of always just been through the marketing grant. For some of these smaller events, I could see where you would just want to have the smaller, less work, and maybe these kind of events need the money up front is what really it is, because they're smaller events and there's smaller people putting them on. But with saying that, we didn't want to get away from making sure that the money is used appropriately and responsibly. And so one of the ways that the team and I worked together to come up with some ideas on how we could do that is the team and I put together some sponsorship guidelines. And, one of the things was if it's a community event, it should be free and non-ticketed. So, if it's a true community event, it should be free to everyone in the community. And this is just my thoughts, and y'all are welcome to change anything you would like. Obviously, it has to take place in Walton County, and it must be something that, aligns with the visitor experience. One of the things that the team and I talked about is how would we ensure that, Walton County tourism, whether it's Authentic Walton, the brand, or the South Walton brand, get the recognition of knowing that we're part of the program. And so one of the ways that we said that we could do that before we gave them the money, even if it was because it would be before the event, was they must generate 3 distinct forms of media that prominently feature the approved Walton County Tourism logo, whether that's Authentic Walton or South Walton. So they would still have to show us what they're going to do with advertising, whether it's print or digital, or even social media content, and a link on the event's website that directs visitors to the appropriate Walton County Tourism page, whether that's Authentic Walton or South Walton. And we would make sure all that is done before we would issue them the money. And then the other thing that if this is a community event and we want to be part of these community events and we want to be part of the community, they have to offer us some physical space there. A lot of events do, but not everyone offers Walton County Tourism a physical space there. We think it would be a great opportunity to have Keep Walton County Beautiful as a part of that, because if you're looking at this as a community event, it could be visitors, it could be residents, it could be day trippers. So it would give us an opportunity to expose what Keep Walton County Beautiful does, and anything else that Walton County Tourism does. And the post-event wrap-up report must be submitted within 90 days of the event's conclusion, just like the other one, to remain eligible for funding in the next year. So if you don't submit the show, because that's where you would kind of show what you did, because it would have the questions there, and then that's how you could be eligible the next year. I did put together, some thoughts on if we have funded events at $2,500 or $5,000, 10 events at 50,000, at 2,500 for $50,000, we could, do 20 events up to 40 events at $100,000, or at 5, 10 to 20 events as well. And the way I was looking at it is it's just a set amount. Like if we decide to move forward with $2,500, that's what they receive. And if you apply as a community event, again, then we can, whatever cap you all would like to set on that, we if it's say $100,000, that's 40 events. Or if we decide to cap it at 5, that's 20 events at $100,000.
So what do we want to do? Suggestions?
Would it make sense to have 2 levels where, because you talk about 1 to 2 day events, that a 1 day event would get 2,500, a 2 day event would get 5,000?
If that's the
Just
way,
cap it at like $100,000 for the program, and
if that's the way this body would like to move, yes, ma'am, I would be happy to do that if that's what you all would like.
Can you give me an example of one of these events? I'm trying to.
Okay.
So is this taking a portion of the old event program?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
So
pulling it
when
out.
you, Authentic Walton, it's a little bit harder for them to, obviously they don't have the number of rooms to start with, so it's harder for them to approve room nights. Also, they have some really great events and they just need like $5,000, $2,500. Some of them also, it's harder for them to put the money out first and get it back later, just because as that doesn't always work well. But there's also some things in down here as well. One of the things that I always think about is something like Flutterby.
Yeah.
$2,500 would be great for Flutterby. You get it, you get to put the social media out and all of that, and there's not all that work on the back end for $2,500 or $5,000, but you would have to do for $25,000. Some of those kind of things. There's also, 1 day things that, happen in the South End that, it's like, oh my gosh, that's great. I wish I could promote that a little bit more. Just those smaller community events, but I feel like if you're a visitor and you found out they were going on, you would definitely want to be a part of that. So those are some of those things that I think of as those smaller events. I mean, like Baytown has, several like 1 day events and those kind of things. So
Yeah, no, it makes more sense. And now that I've got the thorough understanding of it used to be a part of the full grant program,
Yes.
and we're taking it out of that. Okay.
I think some of the ones that will not qualify under this new program will then move to this program.
Gotcha.
And it gives us a vehicle to still fund some of that and help them grow maybe into this program. That's my goal, because obviously we want things to grow to be that $25,000 event. And if you're just starting out, number one, you don't have any demographics, you don't have anything. So let's see how we can grow those events.
Sense.
What is our desire?
I think really we're either in a realm of up to 50 or up to 100,000.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't even have to be set at that. You can just, that was just an idea of what I put together, that if
Very helpful.
It helps to see it on paper that, at $2,500, if it's $50,000, that's 20 events. That was the only thing I was doing there. I don't think you have to actually pick a number. I just wanted to give like a visual of where that would be, just because that's easy. Because, at $100,000 at 2,500, that's 40 events. That's a lot, depending on who applies and that sort of thing. that was more like a visual of where we wanted to be, and that's why it's just for consideration for you
Do we
all.
want to accept the proposal as written or make modifications?
I just wanted there to be more flexibility in the amount per event. So 2,500 or 5,000.
Okay.
Based on the size of the event and the number of days.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it will go a long way in helping give more credibility or to better qualify those events for the marketing grant program. I assume many of those will go to this just because of ease and
And just because when you only got $5,000 to start with, it makes sense to move over to this program where you get it ahead of time. So, because that actually helps with the expenses. But also, some of this work that I'm asking them to do is to make sure that, these are TDT dollars at work, and we want to make sure that, it's recognized that these are TDT dollars.
Do you want to put that in the form of a motion?
I move that the community event sponsorship program have 2 levels of support, $2,500 for one-day events and $5,000 for 2-day events. Do I need to add anything?
So you want to adopt it as written. The motion is to adopt the proposal as written with a slight deviation in that you're specifying that the events are limited to, say it again?
$5,000 maximum? Is that
$2,500 for one day and
$5,000 for 2 days?
Okay, so that's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, debate? Anyone from the audience?
Questions, because based on the previous discussion, I don't understand, I guess, exactly where we are on this one, because, for example, reflections, Christmas reflections, if you charge entry fee, that wouldn't be eligible for this program, right? And Bloody Mary Festival, some of these smaller festivals, if you actually charge a ticket price, but they're a small event, Flutterby is free, so I get that. Okay. Yeah, so I thought based on y'all's previous discussion, you were looking at just smaller events. You're going to take the paperwork onus off of them and say, look, we'll give you $2,500 or whatever, and you put our logo up, you include us in any advertising, but you don't have to go through all this after action review and give us copies of all your media publications or whatever you did, and it's just going to be a straight sponsorship. The other thing that maybe I misunderstood was there are a lot of events like golf tournaments and stuff that we sponsor, that the tourism department sponsors, but they're not captured in this because they also charge an entry fee, $100. Like there's going to be one this weekend on Saturday up at the Toys for Tots or whatever up in Defuniak. That wouldn't be eligible under this program because you got to pay to play.
And those typically.
Yeah, see, I thought. Okay, so I thought the sponsorship program was going to encapsulate some of these events that historically have been sponsored by the TDC just for good community events. A lot of them reside in the chamber, but not all of them. And so if that's not the intent, if the intent is to have it like it is, that's fine. I just thought we were going to try to help out those smaller programs and take off the, I don't want to say onerous paperwork, but sometimes it is onerous paperwork if you're only getting $2,500 for an event or $5,000 for an event that used to be in the old marketing program. So maybe I misunderstood, but what's this year's budget for this topic? Okay, so if we adopt this program, you probably need to say, and I'm not sure where the money would come from since it's already been budgeted, but there ought to be a cap somewhere on what you're going to spend on 5,000 or 2,500, depending on if it's a 2 or 1 day event. That part I don't have any problem with. Thanks.
If I may address, I think Mr. Bagby's talking about some of the sponsorships that we do out of what we would consider the sales budget. That's more of an advocacy sponsorship. A lot of the things that Mr. Bagby's talking about where we support golf events and that sort of thing, it's more along the lines of us having a presence there and reminding the business community and other people that we are part of the community. So like when we do a whole sponsorship for the chamber golf event, it doesn't come out of this budget. It's never come out of this budget. It typically comes out of what we consider kind of our advocacy budget, what we do, similar to how we support other things. So it's never been part of this. I mean, if we want to work towards being part of this, we can, but in the past, it's not been. And typically those kind of events wouldn't be able to prove that they bring in visitors. A one-day golf tournament from somewhere more than likely would not be able to prove that they can bring in visitors when it's the business community.
I do think that I kind of lost sight of that you're only eligible if you're non-ticketed.
And I can take that away if you all would like.
Let's just kind of real quick kind of think through that. Christmas Reflections, I think, is a great example. Don't they currently receive some grant funding
They do,
from us?
and there's also an option to walk it, and it's not ticketed. The only ones that are ticketed are the cars that go around, but you can walk it, and it's not completely ticketed, I guess I would say, because you can do it for free if you choose to walk it. Only the cars have to pay.
Because I just think I just want to make sure we don't start blurring a lot of lines. So now we've got sponsorships for advocacy in the community. We've got sponsorships of this type in the community for events, and then we've still got the event grant funding program. I think I would be more a proponent of what I originally thought we were doing, which is taking those smaller events out of the event grant funding program and getting them in their own bucket, which is this community sponsorship. And I think probably the non-ticketed maybe prevents that. Do you think that we could take the non-ticketed out, but then when you look at the request for sponsorship, you take that into account in the decision making of the 2,500 versus the 5,000?
Yes, ma'am. And the reason I did it this way is like typically those advocacy events have not come out of this budget.
Sure.
So that's never been part of what I do. That's more over in Karen's world. So that's why that's there. But yeah, I could definitely take that out and we could look at it that way if you all want me to.
What do others think about that?
I agree with that. I think that it will better delineate those events, and there are a lot of events that are small and ticketed, and they need those funds. So I don't want to punish them for having to charge a fee.
Okay. Like I said, I just, originally when we talked about it, you all were talking about like community events, and I was trying to like give a delineation between if it's a completely free event, that means it's truly a community event, come one, come all. So that was why I put it in there, but I'm happy to take it out. It was just for consideration.
Can we take it out and then add on your application or the information you receive from them, ticketed or non-ticketed, and just have them check it?
Yes, well, and I would also, if it's ticketed like we do in the regular event sponsorship, I would ask how much it costs to get in. And then that would also give us at the end, if they say they had, 4,000 people come, and then, they charged them $10 a person, well, they made $40,000. So that's part of that. And they still have an after action report because you're not eligible to apply next year, just like the other one, if you don't do the after action report. That is the only way I can get that report out of them.
Sure. Do you want to make a modification?
Yes.
All right, so Ms. Steele withdraws her original motion, and you're recognized for a motion?
You did it better for me last time. Do you want to just? Okay. So the motion is to accept the proposal as written with $2,500 cap for one-day events, $5,000 cap for two-day events, and allowing ticketed events to be qualified.
Okay,
I'll
so we have a
second.
motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0. All
Thank
right.
you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Kelly. A lot of hard work on that.
All right, next we'll have item number 6, request TDC recommendation to reimburse Walton County Sheriff's Office for beach safety expenditures in the amount of $219,665.21. Mr. Algren, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what we're looking for. If you'll recall back to when we were going through the budget process, we had a lot of discussion of kind of revamping what we consider like those life safety expenditures, right? So we had created a separate bucket for those expenditures and capped the amount of money that we would reimburse. So this is the first request that's come through for the new fiscal year. So this is from Walton County Sheriff's Office. In conversations with legal, this meets all criteria eligibility to be reimbursed. So just looking for an approval from the council.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any debate? Seeing none? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed no. Show it adopted 5-0.
Thank
All
you
right.
for that.
Tab 6, request TDC to approve the proposed 2026 meeting dates, times, and locations.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. So we have two options in front of you all, and we just wanted to provide them just for your consideration. We're happy to go with either option. So first option would be to remain in our monthly cadence as we have been. So you kind of see those proposed dates and times and locations in front of you. One caveat, if we do choose to go with that first option, January 6th is kind of a challenging time frame just given the holiday season. We do have a lot of folks traveling between now and New Year's essentially, so it would be a tight turnaround. So if there was an opportunity to maybe consider the following week in January, that would maybe be a little bit more feasible to give staff time to prepare and do the things that we would need to do on our end. And then looking at option 2, that would just kind of go back to the previous bi-monthly cadence with the understanding that, you know, as we tackle things like the budget or other big items that may come up, we can, you know, call special meetings as needed. We're just here to see what direction you all may have for us.
So let's see what the appetite of the board is. Do we want to modify the schedule and maybe go to a reduced number of meetings, or do we want to stay at 12 months out of the year reduced? Okay. Yeah, okay. I think that's okay. So then is everybody in agreement with that, or have thoughts? Yeah, sure, we recognize.
I'm fine with going to the bi-monthly schedule. I think one of my goals has been, since I rejoined the board, and I continue to say this, your BCC meeting recaps are fantastic. Thank you for those. But I feel like we need to get to a point where we're seeing things, and we have made a decision, and this is thus the decision that they made, and we are an advisory capacity. I understand that fully, but I still think we're kind of at a point where we're reading stuff that like never came before us first. And so I just want to make this comment for the record. I really feel the litmus test for tourism issues on the BCC agenda should become, has it been before the TDC or not? They don't have to agree with us. That's fine. We're in advisory capacity, but have we seen it and been able to give them a recommendation on what we think should be done? I just want to make that comment. I'm fine with going bi-monthly.
Completely agree.
Agreed.
Okay. All right, so is there a motion to adopt proposed number 2 on the bi-monthly meeting schedule?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second? So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none.
Sorry to interject. I just want to get confirmation. Items that are approved in an annual budget, would y'all consider that something you have that opportunity to consider? Or do you want some of those things brought back before you as they come about during the year?
I would like them to come back before us just so that we're up to date. And, you know, that when you approve an annual budget, my team has to remind me sometimes, you know, you
Right.
did say we could do this.
Okay, so-
So I would prefer that.
Okay, so like in the case of capital improvement projects contained within the beach operations budget, when we get ready to start those design and permit efforts and then construction efforts, would you like those, like for those, each one of those milestones? Or would you consider that when you have had an opportunity to review a request for approval of a design and permit effort, that you consider that good for the duration of that project through construction?
Yes, and I think we get great updates as far as where all the construction projects stand.
Okay,
That's my opinion.
okay. Would we carry that?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are you more concerned with new business that comes about, like,
Well, I just think like the paper bear again just kind of blew up out of nowhere, and then we hadn't really even looked at it. I called Matt, we got on the same page, but like I would have liked to have heard about the fact that we were going to be looking at renewing this contract, and you know, just a little dialogue and a meeting like this before it goes to the BCC, because we're just reading about, you know, I mean, those are the type things that, you know,
Yeah.
I just feel like there's a lot of strong feelings on paper bear. Everybody knows I supported it. I know a ton of people don't, and I still think there's eventual merit to that, but we'll see. I'll still also may end up being
Yeah.
wrong, but there's things like that I would like to see before they're in front of the BCC.
So something like that, I'd consider a change to that project. And so that would be worthy of bringing it to y'all before it went to the
Yes.
BCC.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the type
Just wanted
thing.
to clarify to help Ryan out and
Sure,
Josh
sure.
Irvin coming in.
No,
to
I think once we
streamline business.
approve these big capital projects, and then you're updating us with all this great information on a bi-monthly basis, I don't think there's any reason for us to approve like those type things.
Right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that because that helps me because so, you know, we have a lot of agreements that have built-in renewals. So when we have those, would you all prefer that we bring those before you if it's something that we've already approved a contract or an agreement that has a built-in renewal to it?
I think so. Just so that again, we're fresh on the topics, and we know, you know, we're knowledgeable in the community, and when we're asked
Certainly.
questions, we can, you
Yeah,
know.
oh, absolutely. Because just, you know, we have some things that we would consider like routine agreements. So we just want to make sure we understand exactly what you'd like us to bring forward.
I think just even as updates and
Yeah.
Exactly.
not action items, but
Absolutely.
Are we able to, we're not able to approve these agreements, or you may come to us for a rubber stamp. Well, this board has never been say, let us look into the marketing company, say in New Orleans, or the Germain company. I mean, these are agreements that you all decide, and it's kind of like a rubber stamp to us. I'd love for us to be able to look and review at all those contracts and approve them or put them out for bid, but they were never asked to do that or allowed to do it. So doesn't matter to me if I ever hear anything.
Okay, let's, Mr. Kellenberg.
So I think that goes into the annual budget. So, you know, there's a lot of things that we do as tourism that we present in an annual budget that we would expect that if you say, yes, Brian, Matt, Ryan, Josh, whoever's in charge, we approve this budget, and in there is a marketing contract. But what you would like to do is be able to review the actual terms and conditions of the contract agreement.
We're not
prior-
allowed to do that. It's not really a budget, it's a grant. Bed tax collectors collect the money, it goes into the TDC. We always call it a budget. You call it a budget. But a real budget would allow someone to redline or to add or change, and that is certainly not we have no authority. It's a grant. We're not allowed to redline anything. We can have a discussion. That's all we can have, or a recommendation, but that's, it's not a budget. It's a grant. Whatever the bed tax collectors send in, that money gets spent. I asked Clay about that a while back, and okay, if it's a $60,000 coming in, can we do a budget of $30,000? And put $30,000 away, or do it, or go give it to the sheriff's department, or give it to lifeguards, or let us get into that pie chart. Nope, pie chart's a state statute. You can't touch the pie chart. Otherwise, we could give the sheriff's department, instead of $200,000, they'd be getting a couple of million from this organization to help the community. So no, I don't think I've ever that we're just an advisory board. So we are. That's why meeting every couple of months is great. Thanks.
All right, so I think that's a policy discussion that we would need to properly advertise, and then we could make modifications. But what we have left is to approve the proposed 2026 meeting dates, times, and locations. And we have a proposal to revert back to a bi-monthly schedule, beginning in February, ending in December. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Just turned it off. Yeah, I know, sorry. I like the light. I would ask you to think about having a hybrid. So 3 meetings in a quarter. One of them supposedly is going to be proposed a co-meeting with the BCC. So you'll have one of those next week. So you have a big meeting once a quarter where you go through all the directors' updates. You go through that. You go through the quarterly BCC TDC meeting, and then you have another one on the calendar which you can cancel. But to Miss Amy's point, you know, the paper bear should have come before y'all. A lot of things that don't come before you should. Sheriff's budget, probably not the best example from my perspective because it is statutory and it is, you know, it's got to be within that 10% for what they do. But the other things, you are making a recommendation to the BCC on how to spend this money. And you can say, we want to put, you know, we think you should put 30,000 more in this part of the budget or that part of the budget, leaving out the statutory things, or put it in the reserves, or do as Tiffany has asked, a reserve study, and where are we actually, what are we properly reserved? So I would, you know, you can always cancel a meeting, but changing or doing emergency meetings, then you got to go through all this, you know, gyration with all y'all's calendars to go, oh, but if it's already there and you cancel it, then it's free time. But that's just another technique. We'll see.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Show it adopted unanimously. All right, so that brings us to number 7. Request TDC recommendation for funding to support the 2026 Summit on the Circle in Defuniak Springs in the amount of $5,000. Ms. Diane Pickett.
Hey, y'all. I'm your poor relation with rich ideas. I represent Defuniak Springs and worked tirelessly in that community for the last 40 years, and many of the events that you fund up there presently are events that I have started in the past. So I have a track record, I think, of excellence. The program I'm currently involved in is a combined effort between Defuniak Springs Landmarks, which is a foundation that I endowed a few years ago to do historic preservation, and we're now moving into some cultural affairs. We have partnered with the University of West Florida, and the program I'm concerned in talking to you about now is called the Summit on the Circle, which is a 4-day event. This is our 2nd year. The 4 days are focused with a theme of telling America's story through its culture. You know, we're now going to be 250 years old, and we're going to tell America's story through its culture in a variety of techniques. And to Mr. Taylor's comment, I really appreciate the fact about community events. While this presently will be a community event, my vision for it is far greater than that. My ability and my imagination is only limited by my money. So I'm asking you for money to support this event, which will begin on a Thursday with some art workshops. That evening, there'll be a concert in the gazebo at my house on the Circle, which will be free for anybody in the community who wants to come. These other things are ticketed events. We will start, you know, you cannot tell America's story without telling the story of the Black culture. I've got an entertainer coming named Angela Singleton Prather, who has been on PBS, CBS, NBC, ABC. She is a storyteller and will be telling the story of the Black culture using the Gullah tradition, if you're aware of what the Gullah tradition is. We also have you can't tell America's story without talking about the Indians, can you? They were here first. So we have someone who is talking about the impact of Native Americans on American culture. I'm bringing a friend of mine who now lives in California, who started the original film school at FSU. She'll be talking about the impact of films and Hollywood on American culture. We're calling it America on Screen. You can't, in this part of the world, talk about culture without talking about the impact of the Scots and the Irish. We have a Scottish scholar who will come in full kilt and talk about the impact of Scots-Irish on the American Southern culture. We have a storyteller coming from Atlanta who will do workshops on how to tell your family stories. She'll teach you how to write and tell your story in public. She does workshops in Atlanta, and she's very well known in multiple circuits. On one evening, on Saturday evening, we are bringing a group from Colorado called the Midnight Cricket Club. You can see them on YouTube. You can also see Anita Singleton Prather on YouTube. The Midnight Cricket Club has national acclaim. It's a combination of bluegrass and opera. That's an interesting combination. The opera singers have actually debuted at the Met. On Sunday, we'll be having some programming on the impact of religion on America. We'll also be hosting a workshop on civil discourse. Tell me anybody who doesn't believe we need that today. We'll also be doing a program on the good, the bad, and the ugly of social media. And I'm meeting with the school superintendent next week to discuss how we might focus this. Kids believe social media is great. Parents think, oh, maybe not. Sunday afternoon, we will conclude with an ice cream social and hat party. That brings people together and gets them talking and sort of review what we've done for the last 4 days. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but would be very grateful for any support you're able to give us.
Okay, we have a presentation and an ask. What's the interest of the board? Do we have any questions, comments, discussion?
I think I keep doing it the wrong way. I think that my question is, how does this, we just had this enormous discussion on events. I think where does this fit into, haven't we already done the grants for this year? Okay.
Yeah, I think you did the grants for this year, and what happened is the grant failed because you interpreted it as a conference rather than anybody being able to come. Our market will be, depending on how much money we have, will be from Panama City to Pensacola to Mobile to Montgomery to Atlanta. That's kind of drive time. Naturally, we hope to grow it to a much bigger thing. We did fill up some beds last year and expect to fill up a lot more this year.
No, it sounds like an absolutely fantastic event, and I should have opened with that, and I certainly appreciate that. But I've kind of been a huge proponent of getting this event program really defined, and you apply by a certain date. I did not know that you had applied and did not make the initial cuts, but I think we as a board have got to be extremely careful of if everybody starts coming back individually after the decisions were made. I think it could put us in a somewhat compromised position relative to if you do this one, how do you not do this one?
Well, the reason I'm here today is because I did not understand why a program of this quality failed to qualify. So Kelly invited me to come today and speak with you about how we could fix this.
Thank you.
Because we did not, you all interpreted the grant, we didn't.
I have a comment. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you today. hearing you speak tells me exactly the very reason why the Chautauqua Society was formed and why that theater was built in Defuniak. What she's talking about is bringing drama, arts, lecture, music. Then that is exactly what the Chautauqua Society does. We're getting a presentation from a member of the Walton County, not just Defuniak community, who I've not had the pleasure of meeting until today, but thank you for coming, and it certainly seems like a program that would be worthy of more discussion with us. And
Mr. Taylor, I revived the Chautauqua about 35 years ago. I funded it and managed it until 2006, then turned it over. I've not been involved in it since.
right, nor have I, but I also know, and the heritage of Walton County, the Scots that came, the Campbells and those names, and the Presbyterian churches in the valley, and this is something that seems worthwhile to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Kelly. Was this program, like the funding was eliminated through the initial review and like panel review, or through the BCC itemized discussion?
Hey, it went through everywhere. When you all ask the team to go back and look at it, you asked the ones that were close in scoring. This one scored a 57. So out of 57, that was not one of the ones that I was asked to go back and review. And I just didn't have another mechanism to do that. That was not part of where it was.
May I answer any further questions?
Any other questions? Mr. Taylor, would you like to make a motion or anything?
Well, I'm not sure if certainly, I'd be in favor of supporting the grant to this event, the summit on the circle, in this amount. We have Authentic Walton, and I know everyone's very sensitive, and then we have South Walton, and everybody wants to make sure that the money that's raised by the bed tax collectors, I might add, of which I'm one, that it's sacred. And but from a community grant standpoint, I certainly think this seems extremely worthwhile, and I'd be in favor of the grant to to the summit. But I can make that in a motion, but I don't, that we as a board would
Add it to the list?
Yes.
Would that have to go back before the commission?
I think it would, because that's kind of deviating from where we originally went. So I believe it would have to.
Okay. Had I been more aware of the scope of the project, I probably, as a commissioner, would have asked to have it under the review as the others were, but I was unable to do that. I would like to have that come back to us, but Vice Chair, you're on target. We got to be very cautious about reopening things once that they've been solidified. However, this project is one that I'm very familiar with, and I would have asked for that to be considered if we could. But I'm here at the desire for the board. So we have a motion to add this to the list, to send that to the commissioners for
I'll make that motion.
Additional consideration. Is there a second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion among the board? Comments?
If I may, I would just like to add that in my conversations reviewing the agenda with legal counsel, he did share some of the reservations that Vice Chair Wise-Coble shared as well.
Gotcha. Mr. Bagby?
I think this would be your perfect beta test for the sponsorship program. Not the event grant where you have to go back and try to shoehorn in, because I agree with you. If you reopen the event grant process and the $500,000 cap and where all the money's been approved, you're gonna be asking for trouble. But if you say, this is part of our new sponsorship program, this is a community event, whether it's ticketed or not ticketed, you know, it's a multi-day event.
Matt, can we qualify this as that?
I mean, I think we certainly could, but also understand that the sponsorship program that we're referencing was in reference to the next cycle, not the current cycle.
So you just say, we're going to do a beta test, and this is going to be the event that we do. You have your reporting or whatever you want to do and run this through. Learn a few things of, well, if we're on sponsorships for multi-day, I'm sure Ms. Pickett will do a after-action review and all this stuff, and you'll get the feedback. And so I would ask that you approve it as a beta test for the sponsorship program that you have already approved going forward. Thank you.
Okay. How do we physically walk through that exercise?
Yeah, I mean, I think if that's the direction of the board for us to fund this, we would take that recommendation to the BCC and ask for their blessing to fund this event in the form of a beta program ahead of the proposed sponsorship program.
Is that your motion? Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
Nay.
Show it passes 4-1. Okay. I think that concludes today's agenda. I think we've had a good, productive meeting, and appreciate y'all's participation. Is there a motion to adjourn? We have a motion to adjourn. Show that done with no objections.